Greetings, people of the internet. The topic today, I've got these comments pulled up. I started some stuff on this clip from some show, and it had a mother and her young child trying to get their Lyft passenger rating up, or Uber, or whatever, or both. Um, and I'll just give you my original post. That there's other comments on here that have a lot more. Like this short's getting enough engagement. Like there's one below mine that's got 1,000 likes. So I'm not the most popular on the block, but usually in this world that means you're doing something right. My comment was, I will make kids throw food away as a Lyft and Uber driver. Anyone eating in my car is automatic 1 star. But if the driver was already eating, because that they were in one of the clips, I guess that makes it okay. I would never do that with the passenger in the car. Many replies to this. I've done. It's always good when you get a discussion going. And what I want to weave into this also is a discussion on online communicating in general and participating in these discussion posts. Because I want to point out, like, rage baiting. You hear that term now. Not everything you don't agree with is rage bait. Um, but at the same time, not every discussion is two-sided either. You don't want to make a mess in somebody else's car. Like, I'm paying for this car. It's mine. It's not Uber's. It's not Lyft's. And we're trying to make a living doing something, and we're not paid, and we are not paid enough. Like, I literally just yesterday, drove 250 miles and made $150. So actually, the IRS will be subsidizing my work for Uber, because that's was about the standard mileage deduction at 72.5 cents a mile will give me about $30 back for it, which it doesn't work that way. They don't give it to you. So if I actually underreport my mileage, I get more from the IRS. Is how poor Uber driving will make me on some days. Some days it's better than that. But I'm just, I'm giving you an example of, like, the margin is so thin. People, you are not entitled to have someone spend time cleaning up after you. So I just, and and look, if you are basically respectful and constructive in some way, as in saying something and not just, being really dumb, like, I'm not going to delete your comments on this video. I want to hear from you. But what I just said is not a two-sided issue. It's not a discussion. There's no legitimate bait. Um, but at the same time, there is some gray area and interesting discussion here. So, and I'm using the usernames, by the way. I know some channels will bleep them out. If you don't want me to use your username, don't post things on the internet with this username. I don't know what to tell you. So that's going to be my plan. I mean, if somebody has good reasons not to, let me know. I don't want anybody harassed over this. I don't want that. But I mean, you can't even really do that anyway. I don't even know if direct messages exist right now on YouTube. They used to at one point. Anyways, Sonia Balloon Mama Oliver. I like the name. That's why. Now she's responding to me. I say she, well, Sonia. I mean, I guess. That's why I take licensed taxis only. Halfway through my first tea, cab pulls up. No problem. You can drink your tea and eat your bagel in a real taxi, all caps. I responded to this and I said, genuinely glad you're still supporting them. Don't like Uber having monopoly anywhere. And I stand by that, but I also, when she says, like, the thing about a cab is, like, it's a company car. The cab company owns it. The driver doesn't. Um, so, and that does make a difference. And if it's just more to be expected with that culture, and just what they have to put up with and what you can expect when you get in a cab, like, there's going to be old vomit, dried vomit, and whatever else in the car when you get in these cabs and everything else. So I guess, I mean, I don't even like the sense that I'm pawning off the unwanted, my rejects, onto cabs because they don't have the rating system and stuff in place. I don't like it. Someone else, Puppycat3251, that seems extreme. Just ask them not to eat it during the ride and cover it up. That is a fair response to what I said and the way I said it. Um, I have before. I have politely asked not to eat. I mean, people can ask me, and then I can politely tell them. But it is in Uber's rules not to eat in the car. Like it's not just me saying it at all. But I have before. Um, it depends on the situation. But also, as I will point out, like sometimes I complete the rides literally just because there's not really a safe place to pull over, and it's just this more. That's just the efficient thing to do for everybody and less hassle. If I complete the trip and then rate them in a way that I will be unmatched from them. And if it's somebody who uses Uber all the time, that's not kicking you off the platform or banning you from Uber or anything. It's not some official report. Uber does not care or does not manage things that closely. It's about an aggregation. It's about what multiple people say. Which, by the way, I'm weaving and doing different topics here, but that's why I would not put your child in an Uber. I wouldn't even use the Uber teen account unless it's like maybe an older, somebody who can handle themselves a little bit. But you just do not know who you're getting in the car with because it does go for some sketchy drivers too. If not enough people report them, they're just going to keep on going. If they can pass a background check, and that's all they have to pass is like one time little quick automatic background check. But you can buy accounts from the so-called gray markets on the internet. You can buy Uber accounts and keep driving even if you've been kicked off of Uber. Um, Yeah, so don't put your kid in an Uber. I've had unattended kids in an Uber, and I asked the kid to get out, and I told the adult there that, like, hey, you can't do that. And he was like, I've never heard of that before. And like, he's done this before, and drivers are doing it. And I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm in the minority for having some basic sanity. But okay. Um, my next comment, some people sleep in their car. It's like eating in their bed. You never know someone's situation. Just respect it, passengers. 100% agree with that. Um, Another one, itty bitty 43. Making them throw it away is absolutely insane. Why? Why? I mean, you put your little laughing face emoji, so I mean, you're doing the young person speaking and hyperbole, I guess. But that's not my definition of absolutely insane or unreasonable. I mean, I'm not when I say make them throw it away, like they can also just choose not to get in the car. Like I'm not snatching it out of their hands or forcing them or telling or threatening them. It's just if you are going to get in this car, you are not. You can give it to your dog, give it to somebody. I don't know. You can't have it here. I don't care where you go, but you can't be here with food in my car. So making them throw it away, maybe he means like the tone of that was absolutely insane. But that's what I mean when I say like I wasn't rage baiting, but I like to stir the shit sometimes. Um, Someone else. It's not that serious. People need to eat. It's absolutely that serious that we have this degeneration of our culture or this tolerance by some group of people who thinks that this is tolerable behavior or acceptable, and even being so entitled that you eating in their car. You don't get to do that. Absolutely no right or privilege to that kind of behavior. Finesse the God underscore Trey 11. You're renting your car out to make money off them. You can't just drop their rating because they were hungry. All you have to do is ask them if they mind not eating during to ride if it bothers you so much. Um, or I can throw you out of my car. Um, and I am not renting my car out to anybody. It's my car the whole time. Just not what this is. Um, Delulu underscore baby. Are you really saying it is that hard not to eat in someone's vehicle, which is very fair? My response was, people defending this behavior is why the rating system has to exist. I don't like doing that. Um, and I go on, I assure you I can drop their rating. It will block the writer from my account. It allows me to maintain my excellent rating and have a clean car and better service for my many, many excellent customers who are not entitled disrespectful slobs. By the way, I also have every right to just pull over and kick them out with no warning. They're not renting anything from me and not paying enough for me to clean up after them. I go above and beyond and nearly. And by the way, when I say that, it's basically for any reason except for a legitimate use of a service animal. Like beyond that, you have absolutely no protection or against my right to refuse you service. And to think otherwise is you're just there's not it's not a two-sided discussion. You're just wrong and entitled. Um, that doesn't give me the doesn't make me right if I'm being a jerk, but that's not what's going on here. Not what's going on here. That's why my rating is so freaking high. Um, and why I'm able to do this for a living. I don't lose all my business at all. At all. But as far as like a driver giving you permission to eat in their car, I mean, at least ask first. If other drivers are good with it, then go for it. I think you're still taking advantage of their kindness, and I still wouldn't do it out of basic courtesy and respect for other people. But I won't fault the rider if they have permission. Someone else in response to, is it that hard to not eat in someone's vehicle? That was somebody else talking, not me. I'm just K haha. For some people, comma, yes, some people have health problems, limited time, etc. This is slightly another tangent to go on, but with health problems, please, dear God, get medical transport if you need medical transport. I have been stuck transporting someone, sad situation, from a hospital to a homeless camp. And they probably shouldn't have been released from a hospital because they really couldn't walk. And I don't know how on their own they were. And I mean, to live like that out on your own in a homeless camp they should not have been released from the hospital and they should not have been released into an Uber. We are not insured for that. I've heard stories from other Uber drivers of how they stopped. Like this guy I had an Uber driver who had like a four-door truck and was going to help a wheelchair user and ended up somebody wanted a free new wheelchair. He didn't damage anything. There was may and I don't know. I wasn't there. There may and may not have been some scrape on it. I think the driver said like no, not even. But and that almost got him in big trouble with the insurance company. The insurance company, it's not covered by our insurance to for because we're not a medical transport. So there's a liability there that we are you're doing a disservice to take it on. So no to your health problems. And as far as your limited time, honey, we all have limited time. Um, you have time to have basic respect for other people. If you can't do that, um, you need to be, you don't get to use these services or you shouldn't be allowed to. And somebody else, I've never once ate in an Uber Lyft and have over 3,000 trips. And there's been times I may order food and have to order a ride back to my place. But if that driver doesn't like it or thinks it's rude, you know, you can always just cancel, right? No, you cannot always cancel. Uber will literally deactivate you if you're canceling too much. And it hurts. Like I use Uber for like my college tuition. And I have very limited ability to cancel before Uber will take that away from me. So that's a misconception there. And it's not just that we want their little $5 cancel fee if we tell you to cancel in the app and not ask us to cancel. That's why, if you didn't know. Um, but if that doesn't seem to work, then I can always just report the driver and say they were rude. And almost every time they'll credit you, especially if you have Uber One. My response to that, if you are saying you just have food with you in a bag that you sit down and don't mess with, that is not rude at all. Feel free also to do it as a multi-stop trip. And you see, he described, I keep gendering people. They describe going to a restaurant, ordering a different ride back. So I point out, if you don't know this, feel free to do it as a multi-stop trip. You'll save a buck. If you're saying you order a separate return trip, it is nice if you set up the trip that way from the beginning instead of modifying the trip on a driver who accepted it as something different. Let the driver do the trip that they accepted instead of modifying it. It bugs me that Uber even allows it. And order the food ahead so you're not in there a long time. That will either save you money if Uber's wait time change decides to work right that day, or is a huge courtesy to the driver as the wait time charge on multi-stop trips often does not work. If you are admitting that you trashed drivers' ratings dishonestly to get that ride credit, that's a character issue, an incentive problem from Uber. It does not bother me that much, won't affect my pay for the ride. I go on to say stuff I've already showed you. A 1-star rating for me as somebody who's done more than 500 trips, way more, but it only calculates based on the last 500 trips. It has a 0.01 effect. That's what a 1-star rating will do to my rating. And that is at most. It's no effect if you rate that way often enough, and that's what Uber says. A good question that I don't know is, does that work in reverse? Like the protections that for drivers, like if you say, depending on what reasons you select, and if you've just been a jerk who's trashing everybody's rating, Uber will stop counting your rating. It won't do anything. Does that work in reverse? Because there absolutely are jerk drivers too. I'll get into that in a minute. And I don't know. I don't know. If anybody has any insider information, let me know. On the one hand, I mean, you can't overreact to things because there's some truth to that. Like, it's the nature of the business. There's going to be a lowest common denominator of the kind of people that you deal with, and you have to be prepared for that. You're still saying that you're entitled to trash my car. That's what you're implying. Because I choose to be an Uber driver, like just because of that service, you're just not entitled to that. Um, Another Sonia Balloon. Exactly. I'm so tired of Uber and Airbnb. People want the money but don't want to do the work. You're in the service industry. Um, I assume that this is not intentional rage bait. Um, you have, you don't get to. I don't understand. I just don't understand. I mean, I don't know. It's just like the kind of boomer you are. Like, you're entitled to be that kind of a slob and disrespect somebody, and they are being lazy if they don't want to clean up after you. But there's limits within reason. If you go to a restaurant, you're going to eat at that restaurant, but you don't get to throw food on the floor and be rude and expect, you should expect to be asked to not come back to that restaurant. I hope that restaurants will do that, and the management of restaurants will do that, and stick up for their employees to that degree. Somebody else says, then don't use it to make money. Keep it neat and clean by being the only one that is disgusting, entitled, disrespectful, incredibly sickening behavior. Is, if you're familiar with, as far as defending arguments, straw man, steel man, um, I was strawmanned a little bit when they said that you don't with that I should expect. I'm saying that I expect a perfectly clean car. I do not. It's just part of the deal that some dirt gets into the car. People track it in. Um, Within reason, it's really not a problem. I vacuum the car every day, but not in between every ride. And putting up with a little bit of that you'll be able to see when you get in here is part of the deal too. It's just within reason. It should not be smelling bad and crumbs everywhere and greasy door handles. All that shit is what we can avoid by just basic courtesy and respect. And the second and last question actually is an interesting topic because, I mean, as you can tell from the responses I've gotten from the comments that I've gone over, and hopefully what we get on this video, um, there's people who reserve the right to be wrong about this and can just live with that and go on with their days. Um, and, I don't know what their relationship is with other Uber drivers or whatever. But yeah, it's a real problem, obviously. Um, what if drivers had the ability to actually impose a fee? See, there's a cleaning fee anyway, but it I do not have three things. I'll get to the third thing in just a minute. But the second thing, the cleaning fee is not designed to pay me for any time, and it's only for like major mess. It is meant to pay for a professional cleaning service if I have to bring in a professional. Um, Most drivers will clean their car out themselves and take the money. Um, but like it's not compensating for the lost time when you're doing that. It's not enough. But and I don't even do that. You know, you can't even you can't do that for some crumbs. But my question is, what if you could? What if there was some ability, and it's not multiple hundreds of dollars, but what if the Uber drivers had the ability to impose fees, which that's kind of beyond the level of power that Uber wants to give to drivers for some valid reasons that I understand. But you know, what if like the higher rated ones who had been doing it a while were the ones who could um, make that a perk of being? Then I would care about being a diamond tier driver. Um, so there you go. The third thing, also, just to be very clear, because I thought about this, I wasn't sure if I was, you know, if you don't know how this stuff works with Uber, or how what Uber driving, if you don't know, when I say automatic 1 star rating of the passenger, that is not going to automatically change their rating to 1 star. It's just going to be whatever amount of impact or influence that would have on their rating, and it could be as little as 0.01, and that's it. And that's all the little bit of power given to one lowly driver, or one passenger, the other way too. That's pretty much all you're going to do. You can call me rude. If you really want to get nasty, you can get me suspended for a couple of days from one platform. I have other platforms that I can work off of. Um, and that's happened to me. You know, I've been falsely accused of all sorts of different things. Um, it's happened to me once each, once on Lyft and once on Uber. Um, so you know, you can do that. Um, I know some states were trying to pass laws where you have to be restricted from all the different platforms and they have to share that information. That would be an overreach of the power that should be given to the company, because there is no process or evidence or proof of the accusations that the passengers make. So don't support stupid laws like that, please. So that's another constructive thing and discussion we can have. There's other good supportive comments I wanted to get into. Please be constructive. You don't have to agree with me, but you got to add something. You got to say something and not just be insulting personally. To me, I want to hear from people what you think. About the nature of online discussion too, because I kind of just, you know, you should take people at their words that they're real people. Maybe they're not. This all may be AI and fake these days. We just don't know. Um, but there you have it. Um, what about if like Lyft and Uber came up with the option where you could check a box in the app if you wanted permission to eat in the car, and the driver had the ability to check or uncheck that? Some drivers may have like a car. I do myself, actually. If I could like check that box, be in the Corolla and just not worry about it, I've got a much more worn out car that I've stopped using for passenger rides. Um, but you know, I could bring it back and to get some more life out of it if Uber had that kind of separate service of like, hey, you know, do you accept that this may be a dirtier car, but you can relax. You can vape in the car if you want to. You can eat within reason in the car if you want to. I would be down for that. What do you folks think about that? There is a way to do that, and I've got plenty of criticism for Uber as a company, but I don't envy their position on the ratings, um, and what they have to do there. I don't want more surveillance. Um, oh, this is the other thing. This was a commenter that was like taking pride in their 5.0 rating, and they were saying they don't even let, I believe they said their husband use it because they want to make sure they keep their 5.0 rating. My own passenger rating is down. There are jerk drivers who, for whatever reason, just want to downvote you. Any experienced Uber driver, they're going to pay no attention to your rating not being a perfect 5.0. I personally will never even think about it if it's like below 4.85. Oh, that's about my range. And that's actually like a higher standard than some of what I've heard other drivers. You really, You don't have to worry about perfect with Uber. It somebody said it's a flawed system. That was another commenter on there. They said like you can be downvoted for things like using the trunk, other stuff. It is a flawed system, but it's also I think it's better than nothing. It's better than like an alternative with cabs of, dried human vomit everywhere and just no system in place to deal with people who don't know how to behave. But as far as the online etiquette and the constructiveness of this discussion that's worth having, like if I can make somebody realize that, and I understand there's people in this world, like I think about that sometimes with people who don't know to turn your brights off when you're driving at night and you're passing by somebody. Some people are just not taught these things and they don't know. So, you know, I don't know that I should what kind of expert I qualify as, but if you want to take my word for it, if you can just believe me, believe me. um, if you didn't know, yes, it is wrong, it is rude, it is, and it should and could affect your ability to use the service if you're eating in a car without permission. Um, there is nuance to that because there will be the drivers who don't care. I understand that, and people have their different feelings about how they want the service to be. So at the very least, ask, but I don't want to encourage that at all, even asking, because you shouldn't take advantage of somebody's kindness if they don't want to say no, or somebody's fear of losing their rating and losing their livelihood and losing their ability to use Uber's benefits, including the college tuition. Hate on Uber completely either, but I just don't want them to have monopolies. Um, and I would like to be paid fairly for the mileage. It should probably be something more than the IRS tax deduction for mileage. So very few things in this world are perfect or totally one-sided. So I definitely like to hear, and whether or not you think like a drink is like, I don't really necessarily worry about like a closed water bottle. Matter, does chewing gum matter? So even on this, where I'm telling you it's one-sided, like, there's plenty of discussion to have. It's an interesting topic. It seems to get some engagement. I'd be interested to hear uh, while we're at it. So, okay, I'm done.